Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. A national mandate for ignition interlock devices for drunk drivers. It's a bill on the table in D.C., but the question is, should it be mandatory for all states? Joining me now is Matt Bretz, a trial lawyer at Bretz Injury Law. And Matt, this bipartisan bill was introduced last month by Representative Tracy Mann and Chris Pappas. What's inside the plan?
And thank you very much again for having me here tonight, or today. I appreciate it. So this bill would require nationwide what Kansas already does, and that is ignition interlock for people who have been convicted of drunk driving. And right now, the ignition interlock stops about 70% of offenders from reoffending while they have that ignition interlock. But still, the statistic is that someone, before they are first arrested for driving under the influence, they've driven intoxicated 83 times. And so this is a fix to the problem to keep it from occurring, but it's reactive as opposed to proactive.
Okay, you said you were also on the Hill the other day, also talking about other legislation that you were looking at, right? Yes,
so as part of the National Board for Mothers Against Drunk Driving, I was in D.C. with other board members. We met with a total of 59 lawmakers to discuss Tracy Mann's bill, which is, I really support it. I think that's a great idea. But also to discuss implementation of the HALT Act, and that is the passive technology that was part of the infrastructure bill 2 years ago, but now we're at the rulemaking part to try to get auto manufacturers and set up the standards for that passive technology, which will prevent drunk driving in the first place. And according to NHTSA, the National Highway Safety Transportation Administration, will save 10,000 American lives a year.
Okay, some new stuff coming up. Back to interlock devices, though. I know many states require interlock devices, including Kansas, but there have been challenges in the past. So, for example, in 2012, this is a case I was looking at, a federal court in Kansas denied the state's, or I think it may have been in 2020, but a federal court in Kansas denied the state's motion to dismiss a claim that requires the installation of an interlock device without reasonable accommodations for certain medical conditions, violated a person's rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act. So in this case, I believe it was McCrae versus Kansas. McCrae claimed that he had a disease which hindered his ability to breathe. And is this something, do you think, that's being considered, people with disabilities, when crafting a law like this? How do you combat those challenges?
That's a good question. And there certainly are people who have medical conditions, COPD, asthma, et cetera, which may make it difficult for them to blow into an ignition interlock. Now, I'd say two things about that. One is they shouldn't have been offending in the first place, because if they weren't caught driving impaired, they wouldn't be ordered to have an ignition interlock. I think there's a pretty low incidence of people who have medical conditions who can't blow into an ignition interlock. But certainly there could be technology that would allow them to drive and prove that they're not impaired some other way.
All right, Matt, what's next for this bill and maybe some of the other legislation as well in D.C.?
Well, Tracy Mann has really good support, and I really enjoyed my time meeting with him. He met on the House floor. And others that we met with, Moran and Marshall, Speaker Johnson, Solis, all were very supportive of it. So I think it has a really good chance of moving forward and get across the country what we have in Kansas, and at least stop offenders from reoffending for a period of time, and hopefully learn that there are other options to drinking and driving.
All right, Matt, thank you. And that was your look inside Kansas politics. We'll see you next Sunday right here on 27 KSNT at 10:30 a.m. Have a good day.